Hi everybody! In this tutorial I will be showing you how you can take digital clip art and turn them into ephemera or die cuts and even stickers. I will show you how you can resize them. In this one, this girl with the wreath, it miscut, my silhouette miscut it, and so I kept it so that I could still alter it. I don't throw away miscuts majority of the time. Also, I will show you how you can design it, and you can still use you don't have to use a silhouette to die cut it. You can use the good old-fashioned scissors to fussy cut it. The silhouette just makes it so much easier and uniformed. So, and I happen to have a silhouette, so that's what I'm going to be showing you. And all of these die cuts were printed on the cardstock, or some of them may have been on that Canon matte paper. And once you create like maybe a die cut in Silhouette, you would be able to take that same file and turn them into stickers. You don't have to do extra steps for it. It's just maybe doing a layout differently and maybe sizing it. So these are all the different stickers and that was another miscut that I caught in time and was able to properly cut the rest of it. But you can, and these that I'm showing you right now are 4 on a page. That means that I cut 4 full boxes out, and there are different icons on each. I'm sure you've bought some of these. There's 2 in a page, 4 on a page. Maybe they call them quarter sheets, or I'm not sure what they call them. But these I like to keep in my planner. I like to print a lot of different sheets, especially the bows. I am thinking about resizing these so that I can put them on the trees with the ornaments, and I can kind of decorate it like when we were little kids. Flashbacks, love stickers, and look at all these snow globes, the trucks, and I love doing this because I have multiple planners and calendars and notepads. I'll put them on envelopes. I'll stick stickers anywhere I can find them. They make me happy. Okay, so now we have the Silhouette Studio software open and we're ready to get started. Now remember that you don't need to own the Silhouette Studio Business Edition. That just happens to be the version that I'm running of Silhouette Studio. You can use the free Silhouette Studio. I think it's the Basic Edition. Everything that I'm going to show you, those features can be found in the Basic Edition. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to start off with a new sheet. So you can either click this plus right here to add a new page, or you can do File, New, or you can do like Command N as a short key. Now the first thing that you want to do is I would do my page setup, do my registration marks. This screen will pop up every time you open a new page. However, if for some reason it doesn't show up, I will show you. It's right here. It's this first option right here, and it's open the page setup panel. So if you click that, you can select your page size. I always work with letter for sticker sheets, cardstock. You can have your grid settings. You can show the grid, not show the grid. And then you can, this is the most important, your registration marks. For the style, you need to, if you're printing and cutting. So when we did the pattern paper, we did not do this step because we were just printing. For the style, you want to select type 1. That's if you have a cameo, the original, or 1, 2, or 3, or the portrait. So the portrait is the baby one and the cameo is larger. So if you go ahead and click that, these are the settings that I'm working with. I'm not sure what the default is. I should have looked that up, but I apologize. These are just the settings that I use, but if you move the length, see how this gray, this crossed out area looks? So I usually, do you remember? Yeah, 0.375, that's where I usually keep it. And the thickness is going to change these lines. And sometimes if I'm having trouble with my registration marks showing up, sometimes I may change it up to a 1. But I am going to keep it at 5 because I've been a 0.5. I've been okay with that. Now the inset, I will show you. This will, I think the default is maybe a 0.625. So I probably try to push it to a 0.394 sometimes, just so that I can utilize more of the area and not waste paper. But I do know that when some people use that, they do have trouble with the registration marks or cutting on the silhouette machine. So let's just keep it at 0.625, and when you're more comfortable, you can go ahead and play around with this. Also, if you remember, in the pattern paper tutorial, this gray line is the print line and this red line is the cut line. So everything you design that you want printed and cut should stay within these red lines. The gray line, it won't matter for this because I am going to show you how to cut. Now, if you are going to be just printing and using scissors to fussy cut, then you can turn this off so that you'll be able to actually, and I would select borderless. So we go into print page setup. And remember, the option to change the page size to borderless will not show up if you have it format for any printer. You have to physically select a printer. So I'm going to select the Canon MG770 series, and I am using a Canon MG7720. So I'm going to select that. When I select a printer, I now have the option to have borderless. So this way, if you're just doing fussy cutting, you'll be able to print all the way to the edge and just ignore the red line because it won't matter, you're not cutting. But if you will be cutting with a silhouette machine, you definitely, first thing to do is do your registration mark. So after you do your registration marks, another thing that I would do that's a bad habit of mine, and I have experienced where silhouette has crashed on me, is do file and save. Save your document, save your project, hit save, and then rename it and choose where you want it, select where you want it to be saved. So let's get started with the fun stuff. So what you need to do is go to find where your digital art is, your clip arts or digital files are. Christy has them labeled here, icons. There is a way to import through Silhouette. You can do file import or import it into the Silhouette library. However, I've had some bad experiences with that where Silhouette has completely crashed or has corrupted and I've lost everything in the library and I've had to re-import things, and I just don't have the patience for that. Plus, I can search and see things better if I just keep it in my Finder. So let's just drag this girl. So this is how I do it. I just drag and drop, just like I did the pattern paper. Wait for it to load. There we go. Now when you drag and drop for icons, you need to be very careful. Let me bring this in. Oops, sorry. Okay, so when you drag and drop icons, you need to be very careful not to override it. So I will show you what that means. We will select another image. Let's just do some boots. Now if I hover over, this is fine. You can drag and drop it anywhere. However, that's not good. So just be careful. Sometimes you can use your best friend undo and sometimes it doesn't work. So I'm going to go ahead and select a few images. Oh, we definitely need a bow. Let's choose the floral bow. Let's see what other icons we have. Let's do a paperclip. And this is what I do. I'll just drag and drop and not worry about sizing until later. But this way I can just keep designing. Oops, see, that's not good. Just drag until, and then let go. And other people may have other techniques that they use. This, again, just works for me. So let's see, I think I will get possibly the truck. Oh no, let's do the floral. Let's do a floral. So the last one that I will select is this floral. Oops, Aish, what happened there? Last one that I will select and drag and drop will be this floral arrangement. There we go. Okay, so now what I am going to do is resize them. A trick is if you just, so I am clicking up top here, holding the mouse down and dragging it over, let go, and this is a quick way to resize them. So I can zoom in and show you the mat. Okay, so let's start with the bow. That should be an easy one. So you actually don't have to work on this white print and cut area. You can design and cut and trace everything that I show you on here. You can do on the gray area. It's just that sometimes if you have a transparent image, it works easier. It's easier to work with if you have the white background because that's what color the cardstock is and that's what color your sticker paper is. So that would be easier. Okay, so let's make this slightly larger so you can actually see what I'm doing. I'm going to select from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth from the top, it's open the trace panel. And I'm going to click that and this screen will pop up. So it's trace, select trace area, click that. Highlight, so I'm going to hold down the mouse, scroll over, let go, release the mouse. So everything in the yellow area, this is highlighting your image and the trace line or cut line is going to go around here. I need to adjust my threshold. I usually just adjust it up to 100. You can play around with that to get a better image. I'm going to do that to 100. A better image. You can use the up and down arrows to adjust that slightly. Sometimes I will select low pass. I will put low pass at 1, enter. This is not how you would like it to look. And I will then bring down the threshold down. And usually if I'm doing a low pass at 1 to get a better trace line, I will put the threshold at probably a 94. So it's just playing around with it. I am going to leave it as, because I think it will work fine if I just have threshold 100. And later on in another example, I will show you where the low pass will come in handy. And all you do is click trace outer edge. And that red trace line is, it would, if you left it as is, this would create a trace and hardly any white space, but if you see here, this is gonna cut, this will show some white, this will be touching towards the black, so it's a little inconsistent. So the next step that you can take, and especially if you want that white sticker or white die cut look where it has the outline around it, the next step that you would do is this. I would select the line color. This is line style. We'll go over that later. And this one is fill line color. So I would like to, if you pay attention to this red box right here as I click on here, and I'll repeat this step again. Okay, do you see how that red box got smaller? I'll show you. Oh, that's not going to zoom in. Sorry, I can't zoom in more, but it's this red box here. So if I click out, see how the red box is now full? What I am doing is I am trying to click on that red line, and now the red box is deselected. So the red box becomes smaller. I want to change this line to a blue line, which then creates a trace line. I refer to blue lines as my trace line, red lines as my cut line, and later on the green line I refer to as a full cut line. I use those for boxes. So once you change this to blue, so I'm going to be using line style again, so I'm going to just pull this here. If you exit out of it, it's fine. Just go back up to the line style and get to the screen again. So the next step would be to select the open offset panel. It's this double star, outline star here. Click that, and we want to click offset. Now when you click on this, you want to make sure you're still on the blue. Do you see how this is blue? This is why I like to keep this box open. We want to be able to tell which layer we're actually cutting on or tracing on or changing or outlining. So I know that I'm on the correct one because I'm on the blue. If you click offset, it's going to create this outline around it. That's a very large outline. I like to change this down to maybe a 0.025 or a 0.030. It's really a preference, and at the end of this video, towards the end of this tutorial, I will show you the differences of if you kept it where it cuts straight here, or if you did a 0.25, a 0.5, or left it with the default, which is 0.125. So let's do a 0.050, apply. See how the outline, the offset is much smaller. Now we want to select this as red so that it will trace around, it will cut around your image. So I am going to, let me go ahead and delete this because I want to show you if you were selected. Do you see how none of the colors are selected? Again, blue is the line, the color that you would want selected to do an offset properly. Now if for some reason if for some reason when you click on it, none of these, neither red or blue or any of these are selected, and I click offset, it's going to create this box. So if you use the offset and it keeps creating a box, that's because you're not actually selecting the correct layer. So you can just go ahead and delete. I don't believe undo will work. No, it won't. So click delete and it will delete that layer. And you see how it was on red? That's because it was on that red box. Just go ahead and select, click on the blue, click offset, change your distance to point, your preference, which for this example 0.050, and click apply. And you want to make sure you change the color to red, so this will be your cut line. So you want to select this whole image by clicking on the top somewhere or any corner. This is a habit of mine. Highlight over everything the three layers, the clip art, the blue trace line, and the red cut line. Right click and group. I do use keystrokes, but for these tutorials I will be using the mouse so that you can actually see what I'm doing. Click group. Again, like I showed you in the pattern paper, you always want to pull, if you want to resize it, an image, to pull it from any of the four corners. So there. Another way to resize this is to click on transform. So open the transform tool, the three rows here or columns. The second option would be scale. And if you go here, you can change the width and the height. Now, I can change this if I know I want it to be 2 inches high. But see, when I did that, it distorted it. You need to make sure this is locked. So my best friend, the undo button, will help me out. If you know you want the height to be 2 inches, or let's do the width 2 inches. So if you want the width to be 2 inches, we need to lock this first so it'll keep the aspect ratio. Highlight this. You can also use the arrows up and down. I'm going to input 2, type in 2, hit tab over, and hit apply. It has now adjusted the width to 2 and changed the height to about a 1.5. And so the aspect, your image has not been distorted. Okay, so let's move on to another clip art so we can go through the process again. So our next image we'll work with are these boots. I am going to keep this line style open. I really like to keep the line style box open. And we are going to go to trace, select trace area, highlight your image. Now make sure you're highlighting the whole image. If the whole image is not selected, you don't have this gray shadow box over it, it will not trace your entire image. But you can move and adjust this gray box and again pull it, and this doesn't matter, you can pull it out so that you are highlighting over the entire image. Threshold at 100%, and do you see these little yellow specks? I will show you how you can remove that. So let's do trace outer edge. Now we want to highlight over the 2 layers, which is the red trace line right now, or red cut line, and these boots. If you select Object, Modify, and Crop, it's now separated the image. Let's move this over. Drag your mouse over everything, and this we don't want. You can just delete that. Let's bring the boots over again. Do your trace once again. Threshold at 100%. And do you see how it's removed all of this noise? I call it noise. And then you want to trace your outer edge. Next, we want to change this red cut line into a trace line. I'm going to change that to blue, select the offset, adjust that down. Oops, let's do 50. Click apply or enter, change that line to a red cut line, and group. It does get faster and easier the more you do it. We can throw that off to the side. So we've got a bow, oops, and this is, it's good when I'm doing this that I make mistakes. This is a centering like I explained to you in the pattern paper. Make sure you keep this on your image centered because it will in future tutorials make sense. Click your best friend undo and drag this somewhere else. So let's do this paper clip. This should be an easy one. Let's zoom in. Let's just make it bigger. To resize these images, I prefer, it's just easier to just resize it by pulling one of the corners. Okay, so we are going to, and let's try to move this over. Maybe we can just keep this. Select the trace area. Threshold 100%. Trace outer edge. Change your red line. We would like it to be a, pay attention to this, into a blue trace line. Click offset and adjust this. number. Click apply, change that to red. See how quick that was? And group it. Right click, group. And all this work will be so worth it. You can make stickers, die cuts, you name it. Let's throw this in. I can throw this on the side over here. Now let's see. I'll do the cap. We'll just do a few more. Select the trace tool, trace the area, threshold at 100%, trace outer edge, select the red box, and sometimes click off and click back on. Here's the red box, it's deselected. Change that to blue, offset, and change that. Click apply. Change the color to red, and group. So some of the trickier ones may be, well, it's not really tricky. This one will be not tricky, but you'll have let's take the girl with the wreath, select trace area, highlight, threshold at 100%, sorry, and trace outer edge. Now you're going to see here there's going to be some noise here. I'm going to select the red. There. Change it to a blue cut line. Click offset. And this one, if you want it just to be easier and not have to take extra steps, you can leave this offset at that default of 0.125. We'll show you again. So let's leave that out there. We'll group this. Oh, no, not group it. I want to take that girl, make a copy of it. Now group it. And I will show you the differences. Because this would be perfectly fine. Select your trace area, threshold at 100%, trace outer edge. Click on, select the red, change it to blue, and offset. Now, I'm going to zoom in. Okay, now watch this area here as I use this, the up and down for the distance, the arrows to adjust it. Okay, so this looks like we're still okay over here. Watch again, keep watching this area. Actually, I'll change it to red so you can see it better. And I'm going to keep adjusting it. Okay, do you see at 0.65, you're going to see a cut line in between here, which is fine if you're trying to get this to be a little closer. If we leave it at 0.050, it's fine that this is here. You can either have it cut like that, or let's click apply to accept. If we're still selected on the red line, that's the cut line, if you select object release compound, we can now go in and delete this. Just that small cut line. We can now go in, select that small area, it's a cut line, and delete it. There's just 3 there. And now you have your outline at a 050, and it will be a closer cut to here, but it won't cut in between by the boots. So that's a little more advanced, and again, preference. This is probably how I would do mine, and I probably did, but this is completely fine. Okay, so the last one that I am going to do will be this floral, just because it's a little more intricate. Select the trace area, threshold at 100. See a lot of noise here. Select trace outer edge, highlight everything, object, modify, crop. Click on your image, drag it off to the side, click and highlight the noise, remove that, bring your image back in, repeat the trace steps, threshold at 100, trace outer edge, click on the red line, change it to a blue trace line, click offset. So this is an example of when I would use the arrows to adjust the offset. I will change this line to red, the offset line to red, so it's easier for you to see. And I will use the arrows to start adjusting it. Do you see it taking a better shape? Now, if you don't want to do that extra work, I would probably keep this at a 0.070. Actually, there's another one there. So maybe 0.075, and you don't need to do the additional steps of releasing the compound and deleting that. Or we can go further down. Now, if you go anything lower than a 0.05, what may happen is these branches may become fragile because the lines are so thin. Actually, this looks fine right here. I'm just going to cut in, so you could go even further in. But that's why you just keep playing with the arrows, the distance, and you'll see a shape forming, and whatever you like, it can be your way. Click apply. Click apply and group. Okay, so let's close out all these boxes and get your sticker sheet ready, or die cut, ephemera. Okay, so if you want 2 girls, we can make 1 girl larger, 1 girl smaller, again pulling from one of the corners. I can add a flower. Now if I wanted a whole page of just the girls, I will show you that. That is very cool. Place her on your sheet, highlight the image, and we will go to open the replicate panel, and a whole page, 1 click. There you go. Now you will have some wasted space, so if you wanted to go in and try to squeeze her in and place her in places like this, you'll see that you can probably get an extra girl in that row. I'll put some bows here. You can duplicate this bow, make it smaller, fit them in here. This green dot up here, if you twirl it, it'll rotate it. There's other ways to rotate it, but this just seems easier for me, and this is how you can squeeze in as much on your sheet. And you don't have to do this just if you're using your silhouette. You can also do this if you want a fussy cut around it and just maximize your cardstock, your sticker sheet, and just fill in your paper. And just fill in your sheet. And you can save these on the side and save. You can throw these on the side and leave them there, save your document, open it back up, and drag them onto a sheet and still use them. I will spin this to try to get these to fit. Maybe I don't need the boots to be that large. Squeeze that there. So it really is a game of Tetris, and it's sometimes my favorite part to try to see what I can do. Okay, so there's our sheet. I would probably add in more bows here. You can always use bows, maybe some more florals, make them larger, smaller, design it any way that you want. So once I'm done with designing a layout like this and I'm ready to print it, before I go to the print, I would recommend going to send to Silhouette, but we're not actually sending it to Silhouette just yet. And I do like to cut by line color, which is why I was showing you the blue trace line, the red trace line. So select line color, and you see here, this is how it'll cut. So this is your blue trace line, your red cut line. We don't want it to cut by the blue trace line, so deselect that, and you'll see here, everything that's highlighted in red here is how it will cut. If you were to deselect that, nothing will cut. So make sure you've selected red. Now I'll show you, this is how the trace line, so this would be fine if you wanted no white space around it. Actually, there would probably be some white space. This will be the actual offset lines that you made, and you can now, the next step would be to go to File and Print. Once it prints, you'd load it onto the cutting mat. I'm using a Silhouette, a Cameo cutting mat, so your portrait cutting mat would probably be much smaller. It'll be the size of your 8.5 by 11 paper. And load the paper onto either your cardstock or sticker sheet onto the cutting mat, load it into your machine, and it's saying could not connect. That's because I actually don't have my Silhouette connected to my laptop. And this, I have settings here. You can, if you're just starting off, maybe you can follow my cut settings and adjust it from there. Every Silhouette is a little different. You do need to get familiar with it. Maybe you could choose cardstock plain if you wanted to just do some die cuts, or you could choose sticker paper white. But I've already done some user-defined ones. I've customized some. So if I wanted to make this into the sticker sheet where these stickers would trace out but it wouldn't cut all the way through, my setting would be a sticker portrait, let's see, sticker kiss. So if I click on sticker kiss, see here it says sticker kiss, and the blade is set at a 2, the speed is at a 3, force is at a 3, and it'll just do one pass. And the pass means how many times it will cut through. Now if I wanted to do this on a, if I wanted to make this into a die cut, I would select my user defined, which I've customized to just a full cut. Now you see full cut has changed here. The blade is now at a 4, the speed is at a 3, the force is now at a 33, and I find that I get cleaner cuts if I do 2 passes through, which means the Silhouette will cut once, that's 1 pass, and then make a second pass. Now if I wanted to do, if I did boxes around here and created like a 2-on-1 page, so half sheets, or 4 on a page, which maybe those are called quarter sheets, then I would have a green line in a box, and I would select that one as portrait sticker full cut, because I consider that a full cut where it'll cut all the way through. And again, you can rename these any way that you want. This is just how my brain works. So the blade I have set at a 3, the speed is at a 5, force is still at a 33, and pass, it goes through twice, cuts twice. So let's see, I'm actually noticing that this is probably a little too close. If you notice that, once you're in the send screen, just click design, and you can actually, oh, it actually shows up on there looking too close, but it's fine. But if you're nervous, just move them over. We've got so much white space here. We have room to play with it. Then file, print. So file, print. Once it prints, you load the sheet on the silhouette mat and click send. Make sure, this is very important. Actually, I don't want this to be a sticker full, so I will probably do this one as a die cut. Full cut. And click send. That's it. That's it for this tutorial. I hope this was helpful. Now that I've explained the offset and hopefully you have a better understanding of it, I thought I would show you a comparison of the die cuts. This one is if you just did the trace and left the trace line as a red and it traced around the entire image. I do think that it leaves the branches a little too flimsy, so I would not recommend that, or it's not my preference. This sample here is at a 0.025. It's still very tightly in, but the branches have a little bit more meat around it. I like this one. But probably the most comfortable one I'm with is maybe a 0.050 or somewhere in between the 0.025 and the 0.05. This is if you just did the offset and you left the default as a 0.125. So big difference here, but it really is all about preference and what you're comfortable with. So I will just leave up the comparisons for you to take a look at, and hopefully you'll find what works best for you. This is the 0.25 comparison with the 0.05. I mean the 0.025 and the 0.5. This is the 0.025 and the no offset. Hope that makes sense. It really will make more sense once you use it, print, cut, and figure out your style and preference. So I hope this was helpful too. Thank you.